So we've got the new Xperia Z5 from Sony. It's another flagship phone from the brand, but it's come with a few big changes. This is a brand that really needs a big win, so what it's done is it's gone back, changed the design, made it a little bit cleverer, and added some significant improvements to make it definitely worth taking a look at. The biggest departure from the Xperia Z5 from the recent devices is dropped the glossy back, it got really fingerprinty and really smudgy, and it's made it all frosted. It's much easier to hold, it feels a lot more premium. Coupled with that, we've got the Xperia logo at the bottom, it's imprinted, and it's hard to explain why, but it just looks that much more worth your money. You feel like this is a phone that's really well crafted rather than just another Xperia Z in the line. The buttons have moved around a little bit too, but that won't really matter too much. It's just to allow for the fingerprint sensor on the power button, so everything's usually where you'd expect it to be. Colour-wise, we've got white, gold, green and black. It's great to see the NFC logo on the back as well. It means we know exactly where it's going to be, and if you're going to be tapping this phone for contactless payments, connected to Bluetooth speakers, it's good to know where you should be rather than rubbing the phone up and down all the time. Now the biggest change design-wise is on the right-hand edge. The power button has been moved down slightly, so it means it fits more nicely in the hand, and that's really great for the fingerprint sensor, which we'll come on to in a minute, but it means it works more quickly. And the great thing too, we've got the camera button still there, which is something most smartphones don't have nowadays, and I think a dedicated camera button is a really good thing to have. You haven't got to wobble the phone with the on-screen display, you haven't got to use the volume down button, it seems like the right place to have it, and it really works well when you're trying to take a good picture. And the other really amazing thing about the phone is it's actually water and dust resistant. You wouldn't really believe it, thinking it does look as good as Samsung S6 and iPhone 6s. It feels like it's in that bracket, and yet at the same time you've got a phone that will, you can drop it in the water, you can drop it in the toilet, and it will still keep going. So that's really impressive from Sony to have all the ports uncovered apart from the micro SD and nano SIM bit at the top. And it really makes sense. This is a really well designed phone, and it's exactly what you expect when you're spending this much money. A lot of top-end phones at the moment have got a QHD display. That's 2K to some people, but it basically means it's the next level up from Full HD. Now Sony hasn't gone down that road with the Xperia Z5, instead it's stuck with the standard Full HD that it's done in the last 5 or 6 phones, but it still looks really good. It's got Bravia technology in there, it's got X Reality, and while those are just brand names, it basically means that it looks really good from all angles, it looks colourful, it's really bright in direct sunlight, and it's just a good display, so it saves battery too, which makes perfect sense when you've got this smartphone that just shows the content that you really need it to do. It's also smudge resistant as well, so like the back, it's got an oleophobic coating, which basically means if you're using it and smudging it and touching it all day long, you're not going to get loads of smears when you try and show it to friends later on. Now onto the camera, and this is Sony's big marketing push for the Xperia Z5. It says it's got the world's best smartphone camera. Now, does that hold up? It has got a 23 megapixel sensor, but do we need that? Now the key thing here is how quickly this phone can focus. You can whirl the phone around, spin it around your head, and it will still take a really quick, clear picture. That's because it's got a 0.03 second autofocus. It's kind of almost black magic. I couldn't believe how quickly you could take a photo and it'll still be really sharp and in focus. You can dupe it if you really try hard, but if you've got shaky hands, this is going to eliminate that completely. So in terms of the pictures we get, they look really great. They're technically brilliant. The detail is there, the colour's there, but still kind of prefer what we get from the Samsung Galaxy S6. They look a little bit brighter, a little bit sharper. Could be the screen that we're looking at them on, but it's really down to subjectivity at this point. It's what you prefer. If you want a really accomplished camera, the Xperia Z5 really does perform. When it comes to filming, you've got 4K video, which is pretty much default on most smartphones these days, but you can go smoother. You can choose Full HD at 60 frames per second, or 720p at 120 frames per second. And there you're getting some really smooth footage. If you try it out, you're going to get a really lovely looking video. You can slow down, you can play with, it gives you that much more information. You've also got face detection, HDR, LED flash, and phase detection autofocus, which basically means everything will be clear, crisp, and whenever you're moving the phone around taking a video, it will look good. That's the key thing. And on the front, we've got a 5.1 megapixel selfie camera, which is pretty much the same as the Z3 Plus. It hasn't changed much. It can still do Full HD filming. It works as you'd expect it to, and you get some good selfies. It's good to see that Sony has finally included a fingerprint scanner in the Xperia Z5. It sits on the side of the phone in the power button, so it's naturally where you rest your finger. It opens up really quickly, it's really powerful, and it's good to see Sony joining the rest of the market. It also means that when you've got Android Pay coming further down the line, you'll be able to use your phone to pay for stuff as well. It's a good move to have. There's micro SD support too, so if you want more than the 32GB that's already on board, you can expand it really easily. Now when it comes to performance of the Xperia Z5, we were worried. It's got the Snapdragon 810 processor that was used in the Xperia Z3 Plus, and that phone was a bit of a mess. It had overheating problems, apps were crashing. What we expected was a really premium smartphone, and we didn't get it. We gave it 3 out of 5 for a reason. Things have improved massively with Xperia Z5, and we're really happy to see that because it means that everything works as you'd expect it to. You can take 4K video for ages, the phone doesn't start to get really hot and crash. The apps work well, and it really performs as a top-end smartphone should. In terms of the software on board, it's Android 5.1 Lollipop with Marshmallow coming down the line, so that should improve battery life even more, give you more great features. And yeah, it's got Sony's Xperia UI on top, but if you're into the Sony brand, it works really well, everything's where it should be. It looks a little bit dated, but essentially it works really well. One of the other big things that Sony really loves to talk about with its smartphones is the battery life. It says it's got one of the best on the market because it's got stamina mode, it's got really clever ways of optimizing the screen. And yeah, the Xperia Z5 does kind of stack up to that. It does have one of the longer battery lives out there. It's not 2 days though. I think we'll get for about a day and a half on medium usage, which is more than the rest of the market. It's not as leading as Sony thinks it is, but it works really well, and it's a great comeback again from the Z3 Plus, which was again just terrible in terms of battery life, so really good to see Sony pushing this up again. So overall, what do we think of the Sony Xperia Z5? Well, we like it. It's a really good phone. It's got good design, a strong screen, and a really great camera, and for a lot of people that's what they want in a smartphone. There are some issues. The Sony Xperia UI isn't quite what we'd want it to be in terms of a modern user interface, and the Xperia Z5 looks like the Xperia Zs of old. It hasn't really updated. But if you're someone that's into Sony phones, or you just want one that really works, we think you'll really enjoy this. We think this is a phone that's got a lot of great features at an affordable price, and it just works.